Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this first Art and Design public lecture hosted by the Department of Art and Design with support from the library. This lecture is special, not only because it is the first one of the new academic year, but also because it celebrates the inauguration of the Master of Arts in Cultural Heritage Management program with its first cohort of students who are with us today. Indeed, with us today are also our venerable, respected teachers for the course. First, most prominent one, of course, is Professor Richard Engelhardt. Former UNESCO Regional Advisor for Culture in Asia and the Pacific, who spares a month of his time during his busy schedule to come to Hong Kong for this teaching. And I would also like to introduce our colleagues who are also teaching this program. First is our Dr. Patrick Mock, who is the Associate Program Director. Yeah. And also Dr. Christine Choi, who is the Associate Head of the department. Yeah. And there are also other teachers from the university. I only recognize Dr. Victor Chan. If I miss other teachers, please let me know. Yeah. But welcome, everyone. Our honorable speaker for today comes from far away, from beyond the Gobi Desert, from a country called Mongolia. And of course, the country has been on world news recently because of the Pope's visit. And our speaker actually will share with us his rich experience in cultural policy, management of culture, heritage, and the creative sectors, and now head of a national association in tourism. Dr. Damba GANTUMUR Ghana. And I only discover just now with his name put in the proper order on the PowerPoint that his family name, surname is actually Damba, right? And for a long time, actually, I thought, his first name, family name was GANTUMUR, yeah? And then I got corrected. And it's very similar, actually, to the Chinese way of putting the names, always family surname first, and then followed by other names. So, very welcome, Dr. Damba. Now, I first met Dr. Damba in 2009 on a UNESCO mission to study the cultural industries in Mongolia, when he was the official in charge of cultural policy in the Ministry of Culture. And he certainly gave me lots of information to write my report, which made a second visit possible in 2016. And by then, he moved on from government to the tourism industry. And since then, we became good friends. The subject of our lecture today is interesting and important in at least two aspects. First is the perennial question of whether tourism is good or bad for heritage. And then the situation of this in the unique context of Mongolia with its nomadic culture on the idea of movable versus permanent heritage. So Dr. Damba shares some of these ideas regarding tourism in the post-COVID-19 post-COVID era during our lunch and meeting earlier. And I look forward to his illumination on the topic in this lecture, Cultural Heritage Management and Tourism, Case in Nomadic Cultural Context. So let us welcome Dr. Damba.
Very good afternoon, dear colleagues and friends, students, and also those who are welcoming here. First of all, it's my great honor to be in Hong Kong in Hang Seng University, visiting with my good old friend Desmond, and also all of these interesting people who are interested about to study on culture and heritage. I'm a little boy who was born in a countryside with lots of horses, no cars. So until from my birthplace until now, I have diversified and visited with different kind of parts of the world and trying to figure out who am I. So it's a very great honor to share with you about some of the thoughts through this journey. Let's start our journey to move from the ocean to the landlocked earth place in Mongolia. This is the picture, which is my brother, younger brother, 21 years old. And anybody recognize what kind of bird is it? Is there any idea who knows about bird? Is there any name? Actually, this is UNESCO World Heritage bird, actually. This is the bird called falcon, which is very, very famous for Arabian people, Arabian sheikhs. We have received around 10,000 very high and rich Arabian king-size people came into Mongolia just for this falcon bird. Because this bird was our communication instead of internet on 13th century. People can send special message on the mouth of the falcon, and the falcon flies over thousands of kilometers and bring it. And this kind of training inherited with us, not only falcon, also lots of eagles. The hunting culture comes from this kind of tradition. And when nomads trying to communicate with wilderness or to hunt the wolf, you can use the eagle, have to hunt it. So all of human beings seeing eagle, falcon is a wild, and that's why they are preserving it in the zoo park or zoological park. But we are living together with it. That's the picture of last year summer. So this is what we have to talk. And I'm very much honored and to share with you about some of the topics starting into the cultural heritage, and our common sense of the culture and cultural heritage, the role of UNESCO. And then whose culture, whose heritage is it? How are we gonna be connected? Why do we need to study on that? Is this something about past, or is this something about how we create our own society for future? How we can able to be interconnected? And some of the practical examples, since I'm in the tourism industry, trying to different kind of the management models to figure out, to apply it into cases, practice. And then Professor Desmond has mentioned it. We could discuss about what's the role of tourism into cultural heritage management, good, bad, or what is it, especially in the post-COVID? That would be our journey. Well, when I'm thinking about Hong Kong, I don't know about Hong Kong so well, since my sister is living here almost 15 years, younger sister. But in my imagination, stereotype, I have picked up some of the few things that shows me, that reminds me, to express me, that is the Hong Kong. Especially in the design of the architecture, I can very interested Feng Shui style of this kind of things. So when I'm thinking about culture, I'm always relating with the three concepts: culture, heritage, identity. What is that? What would we can? I am exploring with different kind of academic research, but I never found culture has too many definitions. Why? You can say whatever almost is culture, since it is connected with human being. Because culture is as my understanding, what is human being, related with all of these topics. Of course, UNESCO has beautiful definition, like it's a set of distinctive, emotional, spiritual, educational, material feature of the country or certain group of the society, etc. But in fact, I am exploring through the culture, but it always interlinked with me identity. How can I, as I am an Asian guy, see you, you are from Hong Kong, or you can see me, I am from Mongolia. We are using some of the clothes together and using similar material computer. But probably you can see me from my pronunciation of English, or pronunciation of your English, or way of your attitude, way of your dealing. And what is heritage? It has to be always in the past, or is it how we can believe in contemporary today's world? Move from Hong Kong to Mongolian culture. This is how we are living, in fact, besides the city. In the beginning, when I was a child, I was so shy to show this kind of picture to others because it feels me I am a kind of primitive or underdeveloped, because then we have to use it. Oh, Professor Desmond is very culture man because he's very handsome and very fashionable. I'm using like this. I'm so old and no culture. That was how we are thinking. That was our ideological understanding comes too. And I was shy to be different than others. I wanted to be similar. When we are under socialism, we have to be similar clothes and saying everything is good for that. Even I'm thinking it was not good. So afterwards, I can see these kind of concepts are totally wrong. So it comes into the happiness. So I would like to express my own thought in terms of linking with culture and identity, link it with happiness. Everybody wants to live happy and wealthy, healthy. So way of our construction of the living, way of our living, interlink it with our wish of the happiness in order to live happiness. But it comes bring different ways of the happiness. I'm happy to live only with nature, and I'm happy to ride my horse. Maybe you are happy to live under the aircon and drive very fancy car. This is different, but I am happy beyond of that. So cultural heritage, by the way, this small girl who's master of the ushering, it's a master class. She was riding horse almost same as like the Toyota Jeep, and uttering it booked, you know. So the cultural heritage, my first point, again, it's not only about past. This is the now. Of course, inherited with our way of life. This is the true. But heritage is something not study about history, in my point. Heritage even is a study about future, how people has to be live peaceful, togetherness, and happiness. This is the key point of the heritage in my journey, understanding. However, we have to say some of the definition when we talk about some concepts. I'm talking about cultural heritage or cultural heritage value within such kind of framework. However, when we talk about the cultural heritage and nomadic heritage, then we mostly talk about living heritage. Maybe you have some students from the mainland, and you all know about Great Wall, Chinese Wall, 3,000 years ago. But the question, without proudness, just in terms of the discussing, I would like to ask, it's great that Chinese were built of this Chinese Great Wall, but also the question, who made them to build up such great wall? So that was the main difference. And I would like to express here, we have to focus on the living cultural heritage, which means if you wanted to explore or to see the people who were 1,000 years ago are same as today in our countryside, without just a show or museum. I was, for example, started in the Netherlands on the management and culture. I was doing my internship in the Arnhem Museum. Arnhem Museum has kind of the open lucht museum, it's called. They have some kind of people who are making show like how Dutch people were 100 years ago. And they came with a very fancy car and changed their clothes and being and acted is like 100 years ago people living. But we different. It is in our today's life. Because you are experts of the culture, we do have the rich list of the UNESCO cultural heritage in Mongolia. We have at least 15 representative world heritages, including like falconry, living human heritage 2016, when I was chairing the ministry, or the coaxing ritual for camels, etc. But also three cultural and two altogether 6 cultural landscapes are in Mongolia at the moment, but under the UNESCO. Now, my main topic here by you, the role of the people in local people into the cultural heritage. We have nomadic people. So I just came from the China, Xingu in the mountainary area. We have their international conference. We have visited Chinese local ethnic group people and local people. What is their role? Who defines the cultural heritage? And what is the role of the local people in there? At least into the tourism sector, I could define by one of the research papers, degrees of participation into the cultural heritage partnership. Number one, there can be attraction. So local people are attractive. We're gonna to go to the China, Hong Kong, local people and village to see them, how they are acting, how they are living. And you can see variety of Asian countries. When tourists come, they can use their traditional clothes and act in tea or offering a different kind of and making dance. This is the local people are participating as an attraction of the tourism. They can't be as attractive. That moment, I would say they can be acting role of being also local heritage. They are part of the heritage anyway. And from attraction, afterwards, we can be shareholder in order to participate the village. So when we have to make it kind of the actions in the cultural heritage, we cannot decide everything from top to down. Our socialist party said, oh, we have to preserve this cultural heritage. That's why that. No, we have to listen, feeling, asking local people, what is that according to your own perspective? In that case, local people come into the shareholder point of view. Afterwards, we can be stakeholder or decision making. They are partnershiping, a part of communal company or any other entities. One of the big questions you should explore later on your course about ownership. When we talk about the culture, whose culture is it? Especially this is the big discussion in the museum. We have a big Genghis Khan photo. Unfortunately, this photo came from the Taiwan Museum, National Museum. And a lot of people from Mongolia asked me, whose portrait of our king in the Taiwan? So ownership or the culture, according to your own perspective, my perspective, or local people, is one of the key issues into the management. In nomadic cultural, I would like to call it cultural landscape, because when we discuss about or analyze to think about a certain heritage management, it has to have its own framework. That is the cultural landscape. And I would like to pick up the four main keywords: pasture or environment. Without nature, pasture, it's impossible to define our culture. And herd or animals. Without, for example, horses, or like today I listen about tiger palm. And without tiger, it's impossible to think about that culture. Without monkeys, I cannot imagine about tropical areas here in Southeast Asia. Without elephants, I cannot able to see Thai culture entirely. So this is one of the key things. And the pasture, people and movement. In fact, being nomad is a mobilizing, is a movement. Moving is a kind of energy and makes it kind of the culture essence. So my message to you, when you think about the culture, material culture, objectives, or any kind of the science, codes of the culture, how it expresses to us is a one point. But it's always interesting to think about how it should be interlinked with the essence of beyond of the visual things. I can see and I can also imagine about you how you look to me, how you are talking to each other. But I couldn't able to enter into your internal world, why you do that. But for me, it's always interesting beyond of what is look for us. Cultural heritage management, my main question asking for myself, whose cultural heritage? And what it is, a value of that. So the UNESCO saw a distinctive feature. So what is the value? If culture linked with all aspects of human being, should we preserve all of the things of the human being? Is it some question related with value for human being? And where it is, is it must be always in the remote area, or is it just next to me? And how are we gonna to manage it? Who says it's a good, efficient management? And of course, budget is one of the key issues. In theoretically, lot of areas, cultural heritage management traditionally concerned with these 4 keywords. Everybody can see it maybe. Identification, identifying cultural heritage, interpretation, maintenance always, and preservation. These are the key 4 words. But my point is a little bit different, because I would like to pick up the concept of comfort zone, especially cultural comfort zone. In tourism, if I will receive from mainland or Hong Kong to my country, what I have should be considered to be more familiar to them, to be more safe for them, to be more comfortable for them. Number 1, probably I'm thinking about boiled water everywhere in the corridor. Without that, it's so difficult maybe. Everybody can have access, and I can see when I'm traveling in the airport, when I go into the Asian airports, everywhere, some kind of accessibility of having water or boiled water, somebody can make it, some soup on it, etc. At least, and food. Food is a very important category for the Asian people, maybe from mainland or Hong Kong. Because you guys are interested to come to our country maybe. But your first question probably be, what is the food? Now, same to me to come to here, oh, is it spicy or not? This is the comfort zone to make me as being my daily energy. So what is the culture when I am in the comfort zone? When I am live my daily routine of the life, and you guys here is very much in the daily routine, go to the school, back to the coffee center, back to the library, and with having some bicycle, and probably meet with friends and back to your home, and in the morning go next school. So this is your routine. Within your routine makes you your comfort zone, and within that comfort zone, it is not only geographical territory, but in your psychologically aura makes your own area. When you are in the area, you think about culture and cultural heritage, and you can able to study and defining this is a culture or this is the heritage. And when you are think about the heritage, you probably think about your past, etc. But however, how about we can get out our comfort zone and to see in a holistic approach of you, in generally for the human being, for future of our world and earth, what will make us uniting and also different. We have to be different each other, but also being united, friendship and peace. Then we come into the common criteria and role of the UNESCO in my understanding. So I'm very interested into epistemology of the cultural heritage. Look at that. That's the boy who was born in the Gare next to us just 3,000 years ago, human stone statue 3,000 years ago, and human stone statue, also World Heritage. But it's not in the museum. It's just in their home, together, in the comfort zone. And then he becomes, as a student, go into the city. Look at that. As a transition moment. Horses are in the city, but they have confronted with the different world, city image, buildings, apartments. And then he becomes 30 years old, already moving to the world integrated cities, part of it. So his point of view, culture moves on it, and comfort zones moves on it. And then he's moved into that city, metropolitan, and he is thinking about this is the cultural heritage, and I have to preserve it. But I am thinking that this is the different when you have out there-ness as a concept. Maybe I would like to apply it into the culture. When I am out of my origin of the culture, how could I be act and how could I be defined and work on the heritage? But when I am in the valuing attractiveness, and how could I be that? So this is the kind of epistemological issues. However, first of all, we have to think about, in my perspective, criteria of the world universal value. That's the why UNESCO defined this is the world heritage site or representative list, etc. So this has to be provided by that, because in my opinion, maybe my own pencil is more heritage for me, but this is not necessarily be heritage for you. But in this case, who can be defined? How can we work on this World Heritage criteria? And that's why World Heritage sites defined by UNESCO has to be valuable in order to provide and towards to the world value, distinctive feature value of world human being. And as I said again, in my point of view, heritage towards to future, inherited from the past. So, main topic, role of tourism to cultural heritage management. In order to do that, we have to have some kind of the framework to think. Cultural heritage site in the green, any kind of things can be first as a kind of the attracted, or we call it in the theoretically commercialized. Any kind of the building was just your house, but somebody, tourist, interested to take a photo with some of the context explanation. That means, in our word, it's already commercializing station into the marketing. It comes on the marketing with virtual interactions, I would like to call it. And then expectation comes into the tourists. Oh, Hong Kong, I'm expecting by different icons, images. I would like to come to the maybe Hong Kong, the food, or Hong Kong, different kind of the buildings and sea life, all this kind of my expectation. Then it will come into the expectation comes into real interaction, which is the ways of impacting to each other. And that comes into the tourism management issue and tourist flow and environmental subsystem. After the impacting of the tourists' evaluation, satisfaction, it will become revisualization. People leave the tourist destination with two things. Do you know these two things? Usually, one is the photos, my camera. Look at that, my Hong Kong expression. I have thousands of photos. Nowadays, it's called Instagram tourism. Look at me, smile, bang, bang. This is the tourism revisualization on the destination. Second, souvenirs. Usually, oh, look at that. This, I have a very nice cake from Hong Kong. This is the typical Hong Kong cake for you, or any other kind of the items of the souvenirs. But in fact, it brings of the GIS data. Nowadays, it's a very, very important issue for the cultural heritage management and tourism of the information technology data. However, oral data or in the computer data or any kind of updated technology data, whatever data. And then it moves into our psychology and our imagination, into internal our world, and that is linking with why people want to make it marketing again. When I am looking for Instagram or TikTok, I can see others' marketings and I follow it. I already go into that flow. So I am following, using these kind of codes because everybody trying to dance 1 second dance, and I wanted to follow it together. This is the system. So heritage cycle in my understanding, by understanding, valuing, caring, and enjoying. This is the main functions linking with the tourism. In the nomadic culture and tourism communication, I try to analyze with such kind of subsystem. Number one, nomadic cultural heritage becomes as an attraction. They want to attract you. I'm telling, look at that. If you go to us, I think around 2008 or 7, we have received 50 group tourists from Hong Kong, 25. But name was Leave It Your Glasses. Because one of my first impression when I came into the Hong Kong 2000, I was shocked because of even one of the 5 persons are using glasses. So I was immediately think, maybe they are confronting with these big buildings, maybe, I don't know. So just to trying to sell it, leave it your glass, enjoy endless stepper. So bring 25 people to market it there without any barrier, open stepper, just to look long distance things and asking, but Asian people like to enjoy it, not only educate it. They like some amusing things or enjoyment. Asking, okay, let's try to distinct between sheep and goat without glass. They are really trying to look at it that time. So this is the attraction using nomadic culture and asking from, have you like to ride a horse with like this and etc. And then when you guys come into our destination, we have cultural exchange. Tourists are being guest culture. You travel to everywhere in the world, bring your own comfort zone culture. You bring your own identity. Personal, but also your countries, nation. So you bring, even you are similar to each other, even today we are globalized, you distinct us that you are from at least mainland or Hong Kong. Nobody says you are from the Bhutan or from India or from the Africa. So guest culture and then host culture. That is our people, our horse riding guide or nomadic person who's just introducing with you about our country. And then I would also like to say tourist culture. What is the tourist culture? It is kind of when people are emanate or release it from the daily culture and being free. saying, do you know somebody saying, hey, we are on the tour. Why we need to stay at the hotel? Let's go out, see the bar, etc. This is the tourist culture. Since I am released from my daily routine control, let me do some things while I am the tourists. This is the tourist culture. So we are cultural exchange and impacts going on in between three different cultures. Then cultural commoditization, I told you before, because one of the keywords I really like to use is authenticity. What is the original? What is authenticity? When I was in Europe, we had big discussion about what is the authenticity of the Rotterdam. Because Rotterdam before Second World War was very different. And after bombed by their enemies, now it's just new, fresh, tall buildings. What is the authenticity? What is the authentic Cantonese culture? What is today? And that is the basic foundation which we have to talk about, the commercialization. We are talking about here viability. And then we talk about tourism or cultural tourism in a way of the value chain flow. That is, starts from the one local village lady who sells her some of the arts until the transportation guide and the hotel and tourists. This chain is called cultural value chain flow. And then creative cultural sector. This is the how it has to be created through this flow, income flow, and how it has to be merchandised and being viabilized from the legally and business point of view. Then cultural identity criteria. Well, all of these subtopics are related with the nomadic culture and tourism communication discussion. I'm sorry that lots of the topics has to need more time to explain and give an example. Due to my time pressure, I just mentioned some of them. Impossible to go in details. However, policy of our government, cultural heritage management, focusing on the three main area: authenticity or originality, and how it should be integrated with the tourism or the public relation management, and what is the viability. That is the three key categories, concepts that we do have using. My belief, cultural heritage management is something we have to learn from each other, probably from UNESCO, but we should also look at our way of living tradition. Please look from your grandfather or grandma, how they decide these kind of issues. If it's really, unless it's really modern technological issues, they can tell you very wise advice. So that's why I'm happy to look our way of traditional methods and what our Mongolian National Tourism Association is doing as strategy within this kind of frame. Actually, why I call it this orange one is because this is the roof of our ger and yurt. So what I like to do is that in a Western approach, you have single tabs or single boxes and have to interlink to each other. But in our own view, it's a wheel. It's a wheel already connected there. How are we going to maintain strength, this traditional wheel, more and together? So this is including environmental, social sustainability issues, local economic business development, community institution, private sector engagement, and destination development. This is the key components of our nomadic cultural heritage management plan. What we have discussed, okay, tourists attraction is identification of cultural heritage management. Where is our culture? Where is our heritage? Where I should be go on my focus is already shown by attraction of tourists. Sometimes I don't know which one is valuable for us, but tourists say, oh, this is interesting, and asking from me, oh, okay, this is the very interesting attraction for others. Maybe I have to consider it. For this yak, and taking 5 tons of the luggage, for me is normal. I don't so much take a photo of it. Maybe you will take a photo and then, this is the key heritage. I can see it. This girl, maybe you are from Asia, similar to your grandma, but this is interesting for Western tourists. So I can see is the tourists are playing role to define the cultural heritage. Then secondly, cultural heritage becomes as a tourist product. And then its interpretation goes on, and communication goes on. Look at that, this German lady is so interested by Mongolian wrestler. Shocked, look at it. But in fact, this is coming into the how culture becoming commercialized or is becoming product. And then I call it interpretation. How cultural heritage has to be interpreted to attract the customer or tourists. Tourism can be maintenance to cultural heritage management or not. That's the question, but we will come there. What Desmond before mentioned it, that bad or good. But however, then we can, I'm very much saying that nomadic cultural heritage system empowered by tourism only with some special case. I can tell you here, lot of people think about, okay, when we use our home, like if you go to Thailand, Cambodia, they have so many concepts called community tourism or host tourism. That is somebody, local person can rent their traditional home to the tourists. But maybe then it's a good impact because this home is already, because they are settled people. But back into the Mongolia, if nomadic people are renting this accommodation to the tourists as a tourist accommodation, they don't like to be moved. They don't like to be strengthened by the mobilized practical skills. So that's that case. If I am the nomad person, okay, I just want to rent my house and I want to build another house, and receive the tourists. And I'm getting forgotten about my skill of the horse riding. And that case, it goes bad impact to the local people by our research. But if you are tour guide for camel trip or horse trip, everyday practical traditional skills are empowering by the correct way of tourism. That's why my proposal to you here, when we talk about good or bad tourism to the cultural heritage management, we cannot able to talk in whole tourism sector. We have to be segmented and types of the tourism. For example, a lot of people arguing to me, bird watching is ecotourism. I said, no, I don't agree with that. I can talk about the impacts of any kind of tourism. Why? He asked me why. Because bird watchers never be stopped only one place. They are moving similar like birds. then they take lots of big jeeps, driving through unroad areas and lot of benzene. So it's just the name of the bird watching is good. Now look at the consequences and look at the types of the tourism. Look at how it affects into the local people. This is the important thing. And I would like to talk about alternative technology, GIS, CIS, Cultural Information System. This is the one of the advantage impacts of today's cultural heritage management. And we are very much encouraging to use solar and wind energy, almost everybody. And I will be no shock after 5 years, nomadic people sit in their gear using computer and using the wind or solar energy and using drone to look at where is my horses, you know. It can be go on that. I am very positive for this. Another very important point for cultural heritage management, I'm very much like to support the spirituality and professional language land use planning for preservation of cultural heritage. This is from China people, from Nemongo, Inner Mongolians. They came into Mongolia and really worshiping the statue of Genghis Khan. Spirituality, use the heart of the people in order to be integrated and preserve cultural heritage as a part of it. And then this is the, for example, land use planning, we call it zoning, have to use the natural cultural heritage in order to mass or even not mass tourism utilization. So corridor, zoning, land use planning is a key to utilization and controlling. We are famous by shaman. The role of shaman is using here to preserving. She is teaching that why you have to use the only 1 liter of the water per day. That's why my focus expression to say here is the local people is a key for cultural heritage management. Therefore, I would like to propose the one concept called local people-centered management. Do cultural heritage management through the cooperation, even according to the local people's own view, happiness. That's why nomad-friendly cultural heritage management is our proposition. I would like to show some cases and then we probably discuss to each other. Oyu Tolga World Mining Company. It's a Rio Tinto, number 1 and number 2 in the world. Very rich, very famous. And Canada, Australia, United States own it. And Mongolia is famous by the mining. Our 90% of the economic source come from the mining industry. So Oyu Tolga World Mining Company created OT, Cultural Heritage Management System. What is that? Is that they wanted to do whole entire the mining area, exploration area with a holistic cultural heritage management plan, which includes all of these topics have to be protect, training, information, and land permission, monitoring, and fund, etc. They started with $500,000 US budget and working together. This is, for example, beyond of this small hill, mountain hill, we have Oyu Tolga mining zone. So how it should be cooperated with mining and cultural industry together to establishing big cultural heritage planning model is we can learn from here. It is regulated into our law and it established common council together with Ministry of Culture and Ministry of the mining industry together. And then in the council, we bring the 9 people from the local herders and local people, only 3 from the government. And then they can be advised what kind of budget has to go to where and how it should be implemented. And all of the other topics can be in the site. Number 2 case. I don't know, do you know anything about timing? Timing is the world king, biggest river fish in the world. This is our high-end tourism market. We sell this timing, but not kill it. Catch and release. We call it sport fishing. To North America, to Switzerland, Germany, or West European tourists, very high price. Starts from $10,000 per 1 week. Catch and release for timing. And it is world rarest fish. But however, it is very important to have the cultural heritage of our river timing area. And tourism companies who are proposing, attracting, and offering timing tourism, high-end tourism, creates also cultural heritage conservation initiative. First of all, they have established kind of the cultural information center on each village, timing fund, together with the local people, re-educating, redesigning what is the timing, what is the cultural heritage spaces surrounded timing area. And lots of the educational things, enjoying with the local children, establishing introductory museums, and doing some social, even helping the medical services for local people. So what they have done is that, okay, I am the tourism company. I allocate $50,000 in our mutual fund. And then the local green bank also allocates it. And we have cooperating with also WWF together. So this fund goes into employ our local cultural coordinators. So I can be local cultural coordinator, preserving timing and informing how many fishes in this river has, etc., to participate the information data of the cultural heritage sites, and also to be as a bridge between local people and market. So all of the salary fund comes up from this mutual fund, and providing also hospital service, educational service, and make it not only tourists appreciate, local people themselves appreciate their own culture. That's why stakeholder collaboration is one of the key issues for the cultural heritage. Without efficient stakeholder collaboration model, we cannot able to achieve on the success. I'm trying to draw 4 main dimensions in the culture. Socio-cultural key value, that's clear, and the profit value, ecological value, and risk value. Risk value, which is linked with legal issue. What is the standard? What is the law says for you? In between that, you do have different kind of stakeholders, including local people. And then, what is their common mission? Common interest is, where is it? For example, pasture is a united interest. So we have to think about the power issue. Who stakes or who holds which power and what kind of interest in order to that action. So then stakeholder collaboration established based on this united common vision. Also, Mongolia is a land of the dinosaurs. If you really see the dinosaurs where it is, welcome to us. So the dinosaurs are in the Gobi Desert, and you can see these kind of things on the sand if you like to explore on this kind. And you know, today, a New York Museum, Belgium Museum, in Switzerland, most of the dinosaur or all these kings came from Mongolia. So Bayanzak Local Information Center is a local NGO, local people. Children first established it through the geographical lecture and by the oral understanding from their parents. And they can, okay, this is our Bayanzak area with lots of the dinosaurs, the original place. And if every tourist comes without any zoning information, no appreciation, and also lots of the negative impacts. So they wanted to collect money and establish an information center in front of that, a little bit before, and giving the right information, what is the value of the dinosaurs, and what can you expect, and also they are trying to serve as a tourist guide. And of course, here some of the dinosaur souvenirs, etc. And then last year they have, during the COVID, established kind of the corridor place path, like tourists can enjoy and to see and watch, take the photo. This means in order to cultural heritage management, role of the community initiative and education is the critically important. And therefore, in our country, the role of education information to cultural heritage management is very much discussed. It is not something which you have to learn in the university only, but local schools compulsory conduct about the local cultural education. Look at that 2,000 years ago's rock pictures. Is this only for the tourists, or is it also local children can see and involve on it and protect it, appreciate it? So therefore, education is not only for strangers or outsiders, and it also goes into the domestic cultural tourism. Tourism has to be based on the domestic tourism, based on the domestic. You can see during the COVID, the domestic tourism rise comes up much higher. In China, just only open end of the August. Before that, it was only the domestic tourism. So the role of the domestic tourism is key for cultural tourism and tax revenue system within the local cultural sites. Local people driving NGO amateurly, voluntarily. And one of the important points, we have to establish cultural information data system and application on your phone through the children games, toys. Your own language is important. Shamanic religion is one of our main difference. I don't know how you are familiar about shaman. I know one of the very old lady, 82, very good shaman. She said, according to her, cancer is not disease. She can be able to be bridging between her own heaven and the ill person and solve it the cancer. And she said she has done it already 5 people, but it has to be in 6 months together with her on the high mountain in the snow. But what does it mean? Spiritual solidarity. And one of the points to you is cultural ethics. Within the cultural heritage management, the role of the cultural ethics, what does it mean being culturally ethical person? Is it way of the communication, respecting that, even the donating some cultural preservation, or appreciating it, or being cultural ethics is just interested and interpreted or even participated with culture for others, for own. This is the interesting topic that we should be looking at. And tourism event festivals. Tourism is not only ecological tourism, events. So lot of events, we call it MICE. This is in Hong Kong, is rich for the MICE business. MICE means meeting, incentives, conferences, and events. But also different other event festivals we do have. This is ensuring, empowering, and also strengthening my solidarity spiritually with why I have to be in the cultural heritage participant. But also lots of the challenge, especially after the COVID. In the worldwide and tourism sector, culture sector, reduced services, customers. Also, especially HR, human resource. A month ago, I was teaching in German school, and I flew from the Frankfurt airport. I was waiting almost 4 hours, delaying. And German people say to me, sorry, we don't have enough human resource. That's why your luggage has to be not reached that. Tourism, hospitality industry lost their staff. Museums, same. Also worldwide national zoo, zoological park, has no income for the animals, also not so many staff. So how it has to be reconstructed? Some of them is applying the technology. For example, Japan, Korea, mainland, Hong Kong. So when I go to in China, when I participated to the conference, there was no reception. And I was very much shocked because when I called to the lift and there was small like this machinery, bang, bang, bang. I was looking at that, and that was the just housekeeper. And bring some food from into my table. In Japan, come, open my food, bang. I use my telephone and reserve my food. So this is one of the application proposing in order to fulfill the gap of the human resource. So we have to think about our culture is recreating, but how we can able to be evaluated. When I was young boy, I was thinking, if I will be in the 50 years old, maybe world will have only robots. That was our education, was like that. So now I am that age, I couldn't see yet robot within our community. But we are becoming kind of qualities of machine. We can look at, if I lose my telephone, I am checking, uncomfortable. So, you know, it's already part of us. We becoming like that. So we have to redefining these challenges are mainstream to be future, or we have to be remanaged into our heritage management. Second, into our challenges, cultural ownership. It is very much related with the human rights, politics, and representation image. Of course, whose culture is it? What is the common culture between us as Asians? What is common culture between Hong Kong mainland? Or what is common culture of being a universal human being? And what is your own culture? Where is your right? So it is related with the copyright, equality, and ownership issues. Representation and commercialization, government support rules, and I always like to talk about minority rights of the culture and appropriate management system within that different kind of the segments. Challenge number 3, identification, documentation of living cultural heritage. How are we going to be identified? How are we going to analyze? How are we going to be ensure? For a material culture is different. Oh, we have the 5 stones here in the mountain, 1, 2, 3. But what about way of our attitude, appreciation? What about our way of happiness? To identify, documentation. This is another challenge for us into after the especially the post-COVID. And next challenge, losing cultural heritage, extinction, authenticity, being different. We are living in the mass consumption society. Everybody goes into 7-Eleven in the morning. When I was here also, just on 12 o'clock, all of the restaurants are full of the similar soups and similar kind of the things, and then gone. It's like full mass industry, mass things are going on. But how are we going to be appreciate, manage in uniqueness within that? And being high cultural homogeneity, it seems like this picture shows to you, they are all different guys from different region, but I'm sure this looks for you all similar, red kind of the clothes on the horses similarly, but they are very different. So within this area, time of commodification after the post-COVID, how are we gonna to be strengthen the uniqueness, but also supporting the universal cultural value? That relates with authenticity and opposite term, I would like pseudo production. This is the authentic, my grandma's cake. But in order to provide this cake for my customers, I have to produce this 1,000 times. So then the prescription of my grandma's cake will be commercialized, pseudo. So what would be behind of the cultural heritage being having authenticity and also producing pseudo? Of course, in the tourism, but also I can apply it to the cultural heritage management, current capacity. The man who is drinking horse fermented milk with a 5-liter cup. So what is the current capacity of that museum? Or what is the current capacity of that cultural heritage? How many passengers, visitors able to visit per day, per hour? How are we gonna to be managed with nicely, positively, with happiness and satisfaction, preserving together? Of course, worldwide, lack of the funding and support on the cultural heritage area, especially after the COVID. Who will fund it? How it has to be funded? Is it should be in our compulsory tax system, or is it volunteer based? Which one has to be priority? Seems like very political issue, but it has to be within our system. Human being has to be solved. Community involvement, stakeholder cooperation. Ask from others, ask from them. But if they are not giving answer, you are asking wrong. You should be change your question or way of your attitude. Maybe your way of the dealing is different. But my perception in tourism, I'm happy to handling the community involvement, stakeholder collaboration. In generally, the word sustainability is very common into the culture and tourism, but it's very different into grounded in the practice, because being sustainability as a contextual meaning, even in globally we say social, economical, environmental, and political. But this is a very much theoretical or formal words. But listen and look the heart of the people. What sustain it? It relates with the happiness. If it's against to the happiness, even its social, economic, environmental sustainability will never be sustained. So tourists should be as a guest. Tourists are friendly to be local, not strangers. That's why hospitality-based cultural heritage management. Even camels are welcome to us. It's our daily life. Mongolia, cultural heritage management and tourism. That's why my final word is called local people should be as a heritage center. Mr. Dick is a man 65 years old, and his eagle becomes is a one. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Damba. Yeah. So this is time for Q&A, yeah, and time for discussions. So we will invite students, audience, guests, even our participants online, to ask questions. Yeah, yeah. So maybe just sit down. Yeah. Yes, I guess.
How do you manage the different kinds of impacts affected by lots of tourists visit the Mongolia and city heritage and cause some no good impact?
Yeah, could you ask a question again using the microphone?
Testing.
In the beginning, there was no microphone. I couldn't listen properly.
I just want to know how do you manage some impacts from a lot of visitors or tourists come to the city heritage and cause a lot of bad impacts? How can you do this balance?
Bad impacts from the tourism, right?
Oh, could you introduce yourself?
I am a master's student of the exam of the Hang Seng University.
Oh, well, yeah, welcome.
Question about how to manage the tourism. This is very, very good question. Thank you very much, and thank you, interest. There is no single word to say it. This is the way of the management to reduce the bad impact. My answer is 3 areas. Number one, how we can able to define the impacts is bad or good. One example I just told you about bird watching. In the beginning, they said that bird watching is ecotourism. It's a good impact. But when we see how bird watchers are using a lot of big diesel car and driving all the way and making lots of the new road and pollution, then we can say this is a bad impact. So you see, therefore, number one is we are using the criteria of the impacts. First of all, by the 4 areas, like what we are talking about, sustainability, ecological, social, cultural, and economical. But who will define this impact? Is somebody big advisor man? I remember that 2015, there was a German guy who came from the GIZ project, came into our Gobi Desert, and he said, I'm the sustainability tourism advisor. And then he asked us, I should go tomorrow morning, like a session, and he requires the full of the shower. And suddenly one of our local camelmen said, sorry, mister, you used 220 liters this morning I brought for you, and you want to teach us about sustainability. So that's why the measurement has to be not only from top experts, but my point, it's also be cooperated with local people, those who know their area of the sustainability, a measurement and criteria. Number second, for the impacts, we can tell many things, but there are official instruments in tourism and culture. Number one, I mentioned about carrying capacity. We have to be measured how many tourists can able to be without destroying this area per day, or how many audience can be accommodate here to be happy. Number second, zoning. So through which area, how zoning is a corridor zone landscape planning and accessing between the site and public audience or tourists. And number third instrument, what we call it, is the different kind of standard. Nowadays, it's very much common. If you go to the summer, this is the designed by the mainland health certification, fully cleaned or something like that. Or before we call it only the standard for the hotels, 1 star to 5 star. But now we have into the sustainability saying the green standard, leaves standard, or we have global sustainable criteria, something like that. However, the standard or benchmarking or accreditation is one of the also instruments using it. Number third is review. Number four is review. Lots of the reviews. If you go to the TripAdvisors, we can see the different kind of reviews from the customers. Oh, look at that. I visited Hong Kong Cultural Heritage Museum. That was this good, this not good. This was the real, this was not real, something like that. So the impact is the whole concept, how to define it, and what kind of measure, what kind of professional instruments in order to use it, and in the end, have to be stakeholder collaboration models goes together with monitoring and evaluation process. Thank you.
Actually, that idea of the carrying capacity was a slide which you show, with this man drinking the horse milk. And then I saw some reactions over there, So is there a question regarding this?
Maybe my talks was not so interested, or English was not good for the students.
No, but Ghana, how do you measure the carrying capacity for a place like this, the step?
That's also a very practical, good question. What we have done is started from the usually ecological capacity. And what is that is, what we say, in order to define the carrying capacity, it's impossible to collaborate with one single specialist person. We have to have always group, invited biologists, their first term to define when we are talking about ecological, water, land, air, and all these kind of things, biodiversity. And he can bring this is the area with sensitivity number 1, 2, 3, that's the. And then we have the social expert who says the local people have to be live together, have to use it, water from them, and what is the in source of that. And then we have economical, how many tourists, like 50 gears or the tourist camps, 5 tourist camps produce 50% of occupancy. That's the daily income would be like that. But also the impact would be like this, an economical pro. And the end, we have the overall holistic expert who can able to define all of these experts' sub-measurement being is one single. And when we are using it 3 different way, one is voluntarily. If you are, for example, a hotel owner on that area, you can be voluntarily use your own capacity. We have the experts, you can be marked on it yourself. Oh, that's the thing. Number second is that by the accreditation together with government support. Number third is the market-based value. So basically, voluntarily, market-based, and government or the top-down, 3 different methods.
But to just gauge the scale of people in Mongolia and also people coming to Mongolia, can you tell me the population now in Mongolia is how many?
Oh, that's pretty good question. We are so many, 3.4 million people.
Right.
3.4 million people, and animal is 280 million animals. So horses are 25 million, for example.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's people living within the animals.
Right. More animals than people. Yeah. But then you told me, annually there are 1 million tourists coming to Mongolia. Is that correct?
This year. This
Right.
year.
Yeah.
Expecting. Already we have right now is around 800. So this year, including October, November, December, we're expecting happen like that.
Yeah. Well, is that a record? Was it?
It's a record, but of course, in Asian style, the number is very important, but Mongolia is very much looking forward to the impact of the single tourist. That's what we call it, linkage and leverage. So each one tourist's impact, how it is, deep, goodly and badly, or maybe economically, and also through the value chain. This is what we call it, traits of the footprint of tourists.
Right. Wow. Imagine, 1 million tourists in 3.5 million.
Not yet 5.
3 million, right? Yeah.
We are on the moment of producing more.
Yes. So in future, when you go to Mongolia, every 4th person you meet will be a tourist, right? Okay. All right. So any questions, any comments? Patrick, yeah.
Since you mentioned the visitors, I just have curious to know how would you present or promote Mongolia to those peoples who have already preconceptions of these places. When they come and perhaps they have a standardized view on your places, how would you change it or promote it, the places?
Very nice, very professional, very attractive question, which I like to talk. We have traditional methods because this kind of destination related with natural and living heritage very much interested to the usually, we call it old people, usually age more than 50 years old. This kind of customers or the segments appreciated traditionally paper-based printing materials usually. So the brochures, catalog is traditional, the exhibition, road shows are coming many for the promotion. But after the COVID, since the world is very much turned on the digitalization or the online, it is changed very much. This year, we have done several new achievements on that. Number one is you guys maybe know about Nasteli. He's a very famous on the Instagram and TikTok. He has a 50 million followers, and we have invited them to organize the what we call it, the digital online influencers forum. So he brings us 100 different kind of Instagram influencers from different regions, and feel free to find your own corner image from Mongolia and distribute it. Everybody try to say, what is your own feeling of Mongolia? And distribute through the Instagram, Facebook, through YouTube, full of it. So that means our policy comes from the 50 years old, going down into the middle, between the 30 to 50 years. But also, this year we have the 120 K-pop stars came into Mongolia. And we organized a 55-session movie within the K-pop. All of these Korean movie stars, you know, they try to find out the way of life within the 5 days in countryside in Mongolia, how they trying to find the water, meeting, and to do their dinner. And for them, it was shock that just leave out from the Korean comfort zone. Number third, what we have achieved this year is that what would be the, you know, I can see that a lot of people are using a lot of photos from the drone. So the corner of the having one photo in the one symmetric is changed now. It comes like you take it, things on the top of the mountain. That's very well matching with the endless steppe area, this biggest scenery. But we do have to have big discussion in Mongolia. Lot of the, we call it emic or ethic approach to promotion. Emic is something what Mongolians trying to promote ourselves from our corner point of view. Ethic is the foreigner outsides can see what is interesting from us. So when we see the ethic, lot of foreigners take a photo of our girls. Mongolian girls are very beautiful, very tall, and very proudful, fascinating. So then it's come into our big discussion. Is this be some kind of the leverage or the kind of the step into promoting sex tourism in Mongolia? Or what is the limitation of the contextual meaning of any kind of promotion in case of by foreigners' point of view? Do we need here kind of the law as like some of our neighbors, or has to be leave in the market tendency? So then the role of some of the influencers who are good, some of the accredited by us, are impacting or leading the market tendency. So if I'm a very famous photographer, I can take a lot of the photos and others are influenced by me. Okay, this is the kind of the fashion show, or it's kind of the tendency of the promotion, things like that. Number third issue is how can we able to promote by visualization for living heritage? Because if you see the reading the book of the foreigners, they say, oh, I have a beautiful feeling when I am in the nature. It smells these things like that. And I have feeling about in my authentic thing. How these kind of intangible feelings can be promoted. In Thailand, Hong Kong, New York, we can take beautiful photos of maybe the material things and colorful things and the big buildings. But what is the way of the feeling of the internal happiness, bring it to that? That was the challenging issue. Secondly, how would be the nomadic way of the culture has to be promoted into the city way of culture. City way of cultural perception is a different code. We have the seeing others through our own code, but what we have is a different code. So this would be the challenge. Still, we are talking about it. Thank you.
Any more comments? Victor, yes.
Okay, thank you for your interesting, informative presentation. And your very last slide mentioned that local people as heritage center. It is a very good expression. My question is, yeah, it is very good, I would say very ideal in some sense, because local people definitely would be the key and the main stakeholder in heritage management, local cultural heritage management, as well as heritage tourism. But how would, particularly in your experience, how would the heritage management or governance structure or tourism governance structure can ensure, okay, or can help the local people to address or to express their will, and the administration can eventually take their kind of ideas into consideration?
Wow, that is deep question, and also one of my interested question I'm thinking about and trying to explore. I don't like to talk about what is says about it in the books, because we all know about it. I just share with you my practical experience working in Mongolia, but also I'm working by the Cambodia, Indonesia, different worldwide projects. Number one, we should be not see local people is a similar or one only types, homogeneity. Way of degrees to interested, to participate, certain kind of governance are different. Maybe some theorists say from passive to active. In our village, 10 local people, 2 of them very active, to meet with me every day, to smile with me. Maybe some 5 not interested. They are doing their own agricultural things like that. But we can define it, they are not interested or not. So I was critically saying to myself, this is wrong. So we can be evaluate, assess the local people's way of the communication style into governance through different. Number one is like hotel management. In the hotel, we can say front desk, front office people, and also in back office management people. But the role of the back office management people also critical to the customer service, even they are not meet with the customers. So I can able to divide the local people in front of the government's people interested and the backyard of the local people, and also the local, Mr. Doctor, you have listened my word of the happiness. This is a here. What makes happiness to local people? If we can look at it, it's not only economic issue. If we are look at it, what is the happiness for them, the word of the spirituality is very powerful. It comes with the economical, with ecological, cultural all together. So my second point is my first point was the degree participation. My second point is about what is the spirituality unitation or harmony to make a happiness for the local people. And number third is that in the practice, and our Mongolian people like that. Okay, I like your project. So the seeing the strangers are project people. So talking very same answer to the World Health Organization project person, worldwide foundation person, same answer, World Bank people, same answer. I asked, why did you give only one answer? No, they change only their car, in the car, different kind of logo, asking same questions from me. So I can give only one answer for everybody. They're just interested and happy for that. And then they are giving me money. So do not be act in terms of the local people is a benefit point of view. They can be commodified, commercialized. 5 years ago, I visited one of local persons, and he can be give very friendly, hospitality yogurt. Now they ask him from me $2. What is going on? Oh, because the project people came to them. Oh, thank you for your answers to fill our questionnaire by the project. And this is the money for you. This is the wrong action. This is the very wrong way of the local people is a heritage center. And third point, please do not ignore the children. Very key. Most of the cases in the culture and tourism, people are acting only mostly wise and mature people. That is the correct. But I would very much appreciate for the children with the school in terms of the not only commercialized way. And my son asked from me, Dad, why I have to be celebrate for the day of, I forgot this American celebration with all of the gross clothes, Halloween. And he said, well, Halloween clothes are very interested, but I can see how much candies all of the shops sold it beyond of that to give it. Dad, please prepare lots of the candies. Children can be knocked at. So it's always interlinked with the economic interest, but acting with the education and children, it is way of the appreciation through them. So local people centered is how our local heritage being in the commercial product, especially for the children. We have received, I have a company and a tourism company. We have received 500 tourists this year from mainland. And I didn't understand. Do you know what they interested from me? Most of them like to be self-driving in Mongolia, in the wilderness. Oh, I love to self-driving without camera. I asked, what? And he said to me, can you imagine? Every kilometer we have camera in the street. So can you imagine that feeling without camera control and the wilderness stepper just by my own way of driving? Why do you like to drive this? Is it adventure? He said, because when I was a child, we have played the computer game. And we choose going through the Mongolian steppe or in the Rome. And I choose the Mongolian steppe, and there was a computer car, and now I want to use it in the reality. So children games will become the education here. So please lead it into the heritage center way, not to commercialize it way. And the final point is that family. How can be who can be the host of your family? Being is a heritage. What is my family heritage? How it has to be inherited, dad or mom. We have Mongolia's democratic and liberty, and they are talking about, oh, we have gender issue. Woman has to be very strong, very strong. But if you look at the traditional heritage, man has to be king size, woman has to be queen size. But when we are received concept from the West, kind of gender balance, it goes the other way around. And if my wife controls me, and how can we able to be local people a heritage center? So my point is the family structure and the local households are one of the key stakeholders to be local heritage. Thank you very much.
And finally, I'd like to invite Professor Engelhardt, yeah, to say some. Would you like to make any last comments?
Well, I haven't prepared any last comments, but I would like to thank our friend for inaugurating our lecture series at the university with a very interesting and obviously a very thought-provoking, challenging, and discussion stimulating kind of presentation, because it covered so many different areas. Actually covered much more than simply the issue of cultural heritage tourism. It covered everything from gender equity to ecological sustainability to questions about whether heritage is in fact something from the past or something we're creating for the future. So a very wide range of different questions here. Of course, I have lots of comments about all of these things, which I will probably share with the students in our class. But I would only like to say thank you very much for your presentation. And also, I do want to echo that ending on this slide with this particular image and this particular statement that local people have to be at the center of whatever we do with heritage, not just heritage tourism, but any kind of heritage management, any kind of heritage preservation, any kind of heritage conservation of diversity, of whatever we are attempting to do. If we keep that at the forefront of what we are doing, I think that is the most important thing. And to that end, I would say that one of the things that I am very proud of to see in the first batch of students from the Heritage Management Program here at Hang Seng University is that we have students from a very, very wide range of backgrounds contributing to the discussion in our class. Normally, when I teach heritage management classes in universities, I usually am confronted with a class full of architects, or perhaps architects and a few archaeologists. But in the class here at Hang Seng University, we have economists and bankers, we have environmental engineers, we have people who are specialists in cross-cultural communication, we have people dealing with cultural industries, all sorts, from food to animation. We have a huge variety. In fact, I would say that every single student brings their own particular perspective to the discussion. And so it has been a very rich few weeks so far for me, and I'm looking forward to it for the next weeks that I'm here. I just hope that I survive my cold, that's all.
Thank you. With these wise words, I think that will bring us to the end of our public lecture today. And I would like to thank Dr. Damba for your very stimulating and inspiring lecture. Thank you.